Hi guys, this is Matthias, and in today's video I would like to talk about this man next to me here, about a lot of the drama surrounding him, especially when it comes to finance and, well, the tariffs, which has been on everybody's minds for a few weeks now, or a month or so. And I also find it rather interesting, on a side note, how some people's priorities are really strange to me, where as of now lately people seem all really upset about an alleged uh, member of MS-13, one of the worst gangs that are established in the United States, has been deported to El Salvador, but because of a technicality there is some mishappening there, which according to some uh, judges is makes this deportation illegal, and now they are demanding that he is returned back to the United States. And it's kind of interesting how this technicality is so important when the fact that he got into the country illegally, that didn't seem to be important at all, or all these people that have been hurt because of him and people like him. But that's not what this video is about. Oh, what I want to start with is the fact that as of today, the United States dollar, the currency of the United States, is and has been the world reserve currency for about 100 years. And looking at this article here, scroll down a little bit. Yes, the United States dollar has been the world currency since 2021. Before that, it was the British pound sterling. Before that, it was the French. And I don't know in what particular order, maybe that's what this section here tells us, but it was the Netherlands, Portugal, Spain. Let me see. Yeah, this is the order here if you really care about it. Now, the interesting thing about world currencies in this context is that every world currency has lasted for about 100 years. When 100 years passed and one world currency is being replaced by another world currency, it's always a financial disaster. It's an absolute nightmare. It's, what we call depression. People's living standard goes down. It's normally turns into wars, and it's just really bad. And the way that one world currency collapses, because that's what happens, is always the same way, and that's very interesting. So what macroeconomists have found out or started sharing is that as a world currency is being held by one country, eventually that country starts spending more than they are actually making. And that can work because they are the world currency. So they just print up more money. That's how we express it today. Even though in today's world it's you're pressing a key on a keyboard. Back in the days, it was more about diluting gold, which was one of the ways that they created inflation, or that they created more money by, when they were trading with gold, they mixed it with some other metals. I don't know if it was lead, iron, nickel, whatever it was. They just created more money because they were the world currency, so that they can spend more money than they made. What this does is that it creates inflation. Now, once this starts happening, the next time they need to spend money, they need to print even more money. And then they have to print more again and more again. And this creates an exponential negative spiral, where the worse it gets, the faster it gets even worse. It becomes this curve up like this. So eventually, after doing this for like 30 or 40 years, the next time, in just 1 year, they have to print more money than all these other years combined, and then it just gets worse and worse and worse. Eventually, it collapses. This has happened to every world currency that we know of today. Unfortunately, when people look at the US dollar today, that is exactly what's been happening. It was really bad before COVID. during COVID, it became really, really a lot worse, you know, and that you could argue that was because of COVID, if you want to make that argument. After that, we had 4 years of Biden, which made a really bad situation yet even worse. And now, this is seemingly what Donald Trump is trying to fix. Now, there's another aspect of the tariffs that also has been brought up a lot, which goes parallel to this point, and that is that the United States have ceased to become a manufacturing country, and they are reliant on manufacturing from other countries, some countries, especially China, which is considered more and more an adversary, and even in some, depending on who you listen to, even considered an enemy of the United States. So the fact that the United States is dependent on China for so important things, like, for example, as far as I've heard, the US can't even manufacture antibiotics. They are totally dependent on China, or mostly dependent on China, even for their weapons manufacturing. And that is a big security risk, which is also what Donald Trump claims that he wants to fix. He wants manufacturing jobs to come back to America. Now, of course, there is one major big problem with this, and that is that the salaries in the Western world, especially the United States, are so much higher than they are in those countries where manufacturing today is taking place. It's more than tenfold the salaries, and this makes manufacturing of these goods more or less impossible. It's just going to be too expensive for consumers to buy these things, and it's going to have a very negative impact on these countries that now are relying on manufacturing and selling goods to the United States and, you know, Europe and other wealthier countries especially. So, based on that, it looks really foolish. It looks really stupid what Trump is trying to do. But here's the thing. A lot of people say that right now we are in the beginning of the biggest revolution in human history, and that is the AI revolution. What the AI revolution has already started to do is that it has started to make manufacturing a lot cheaper, or that's not, maybe that's the wrong way to phrase it. It has made manufacturing a lot more efficient, which in terms makes it more cheaper. So with AI, in the future, one person that can produce a certain amount of goods today is, with the help of robotics, controlled by AI, going to be able to manufacture hundreds of times more goods than what we can do today. And this is going to cut down on labor costs. Now, according to all these people that are into AI, and I know there's a certain bias there, obviously, but people that are into AI, they say that winning the AI race is totally essential for, you know, how the future is going to be shaped. And being able to manufacture goods in your own country, especially from raw material from your own country, is going to be more and more important. And it's also going to be cheaper to do that based on manufacturing. I mean, we even have it in some sense today. I mean, I think Tesla is the most well-known example where AI is actually a very, very important part of the production, and where Tesla are able to manufacture cars and maybe other goods as well with a lot less people, based on manufacturing manufacturing robots controlled by AI. And of course the cars themselves are have a very sophisticated AI, where they, even from the very get-go, once a car is finished, it drives itself out to the parking lot or drives itself up on a trailer in order to be transported to whatever store, or, you know, whatever part of the country where it's going to be sold. So we already seen it today, but obviously today it seems like only a very few, like, really ahead of the time geniuses can do it. And Elon Musk, yeah, I know you either love him or hate him. This is not about political bias. This is not about political opinions. What I see here is that if Donald Trump times this properly, if Trump is able to bring manufacturing into the country at the same time as robotics and AI is able to really be useful in manufacturing, if that just happens at the right time, so that there isn't a gap there where there's either no manufacturing at all or where there's too many years of really expensive manufacturing. If he nails this, and they can bring back manufacturing jobs to America where the entire supply chain can be based on America, or all the necessity, like where you don't have a single point of failure if you're dependent on a foreign supplier that might be an adversary. You can still import goods, but you just don't need to be dependent on it. You just have to have it as something extra. If they can just nail that, and Donald Trump is going to be seen as a genius who saved the Western world, who saved democracy and all that stuff. But of course, this can very well fail. It's many times very difficult to foresee when technology is at that point where it's good enough to do what you want it to do. It's also very difficult to know how long it's going to take for, even with today's manufacturing standard, to just bring manufacturing back to the United States and either build new factories or reopen already existing factories. It depends on what they're manufacturing. Like with the car industry, that has been brought up a lot. A lot of the car factories, they're already there. They're just empty. They're just being emptied out, and they can just might take a few years actually, or it might be a lot more complicated than I make it sound in this video, but they can start production in these factories again. Yeah, they just have to get the personnel and the material there, and the right knowledge back in place. And I also believe that what Doge is doing is part of solving this problem with the potential collapse of the US dollar, which a lot of people say is imminent. I listen to a lot of people based on the fact that I'm into crypto, and one of the reasons why you've seen Bitcoin have such an enormous price. How do you say it? Like it's the price, the value of the Bitcoin over the last 10, 12 years is like no other asset we've ever seen. It's been, if you held the Bitcoin for more than 10 years, it's by far the best asset you could have possibly held. Even better than Nvidia, as far as I know. Well, there's a lot of volatility, so it depends on exactly what time frame you use. But Bitcoin has for a long time been considered the hedge against the imminent collapse of the US dollar, if that still is imminent. Now, in my opinion, I'm quite interested in what Elon Musk and Doge are actually doing. I think it's fascinating, and I think for the most part what they're doing is good. I understand if people are upset about it, if they listen to the negativity and they take that to heart. I do understand that, but I believe that when they say they're trying to save social security and save Medicare and Medicaid in order to get rid of fraudsters, I believe it. Call me biased if you want, but I believe that that's what they're trying to do. Unfortunately, when I see these numbers, when it comes to what this video is about, like saving the US dollar from collapse, Doge at best can maybe buy some time. At best. It's not enough to really have this enormous impact. Manufacturing, on the other hand, that is That is really important. If the US, with the help of AI, can start manufacturing again, then that's going to change the world and potentially save the US dollar from collapse. And depending on how you look at it, save the United States and save the Western world. Obviously, how you look at it is going to be heavily influenced by your own political opinion, but at least this is my first attempt to try to give you my thoughts of what I see with Donald Trump, the tariffs, AI, doge, and I probably forgot about half of what I was going to say in this video, but if you're interested, maybe we'll bring up this topic again and share your thoughts in the comment section. And thank you all for watching.